Good morning, everyone. Great to be together again on this beautiful sunny Sunday morning. How are you doing? I cannot believe it is July. How did that happen? But it's the 5th of July. And of course, it's the first weekend when a lot of public places, pubs, potentially churches, etc., are able to open up again, albeit with all the social distancing and safety rules in place. So it's going to be good to come together this morning to chat, to catch up on how you are. So as ever, please do send your quick hello just to say, I'm here too, I'm part of this group, having a virtual coffee. Hope you've got a real coffee as well. I've color coordinated my mug and my shirt today, as I'm sure you will appreciate. Biscuits are fine too. I hope you've got a biscuit or something nice to just tide you over till lunchtime. So the rules of this game are as ever the same. If you are logged into YouTube, you can actually use the chat feature on the side, and that way we can all see your contributions. I'm not going to read them all out, but you can read them for yourself. And then you can also send a greeting, a hello, or a question or a thought about the service, either to on text message to myself or on WhatsApp, or indeed to my email address, which is rector@denhamparish.church. Welcome. If this is your first time of joining us to Virtual Coffee, you can stay completely behind the scenes, and that's fine, or you can just say hello so we know you're with us, or engage in the conversation. What I want to talk about today, once we've done the welcomes and the hellos, is first of all, Ed and I are still in shielding measures, although reduced. So we had our first garden get-together with friends yesterday, which was good. Properly socially distanced out in the open, but we're still socially distanced and shielded in many other ways. So we didn't experience Super Saturday. So my first question to you is, how was Super Saturday for you? So start writing and texting and chatting. And then secondly, we'll talk about the service. And it would be really good to get your thoughts and your questions about the service. I've got one question from a Bible book club, which I'm going to mention in the context, which refers to the John reading. And I've just checked my email, that another Bible book club sent in another question concerning the Colossians reading. We may or may not get to that, so I'm just flagging that, Janet. I have seen it. And then it would be good if you got any questions or thoughts about starting services again at St. Mary's Church, or you want to find out a bit more. I can happily talk to that a bit more. So do talk about that as well. I'll try to structure it, so don't worry. Just send in your various thoughts and comments on all these themes. And Edda is in the background upstairs in front of her computer. And if I miss anything important, she will prod me. So there we are. I hope you're okay. I hope you're well. And it's so nice to be together. And we are together with a good group of people again. Brilliant. John and Beverly. Caroline says good morning. Johnny is here. Edda is here. Bill and Caroline are here. It's sunny in West Yorkshire. Isn't that beautiful? Now, Bill and Caroline say it's been great to see the choir in action. That's not a surprise because Bill and Caroline, of course, you were very faithful members of our choir up until you moved away. So it's great to have you with us, and I'm sure you sang along. Did you split into two groups, Bill and Caroline? Did you do one group the one and the other group the other? I would love to know. We also have Jane with us. Brilliant. And she loved the choir. And Cameron playing and singing at the beginning. Sandy's here. Anne is here. Kathy is here. Clive is here as well. Janet is here. Harmony is in the choir. Thank you very much, Janet. Edda, excuse me. Edda is referring to my wonderful colour coordination. So she says, do the two blues clash? If you comment, I'll probably not quote you, but please feel free to comment. I think they are a rather lovely combination. And we love these Le Creuset, do you say it like that? Mugs, they are beautiful, aren't they? They are not cast iron, you understand. Edda and I were talking this morning about these mugs because Edda has the same in red with that lovely color bleed from dark to light. And sadly, she dropped hers the other day and it broke. And I said to her this morning, it would be a really good idea to make these in cast iron because they wouldn't break then if you drop them. But we both agreed they would probably be too heavy, but also, of course, they'd be extremely hot to the touch when you put the hot tea or coffee in. Great. So, Edda also corrects me, I stand corrected. We did our first social distance meeting out in the open, not yesterday, but on Friday. Who else is here? Lots of other people are here. Beverly says she's hoping to join the choir soon when we do something similar again. She had microphone problems. So much looking forward, Beverly, to you joining the choir when we do our next thing, which will be very soon, by the way. Joe is here. Sam is here. Patty is here. And I need to mention Patty now because she wasn't on camera. So Patty says good morning from all of us. Mark, Patty, Yolanda, who is Patty's mum, Matty, Lucas, and Kitty Walker, who is visiting. Kitty, great to have you with us. Brilliant. We all loved the service. Thank you. So welcome to our friends from Singapore. And just in case you haven't made the connection because you haven't read all the surnames, Johnny, who's been part with his fiancée of this virtual service from pretty much when we started. Johnny is Patty and Mark's son who lives in London, and it's really good to have the whole family with us this morning. Great. Janet is saying, Super Saturday. The super in my Saturday was a haircut. Hooray for haircuts. I'm thinking every time I see Boris Johnson, surely he hopefully went to the hairdressers on Saturday, but we don't know. We'll find out when we next see him on camera. Clive says, Super Saturday damp, but very enjoyable tea and cakes in the garden at a friend's in Hillingdon. Beautiful. Great family reading, says Jane. Indeed. Great to have the three boys on the sofa. Joan is here. Wonderful to have you with us. Louise is here. Great to worship together again and lovely to see the children beginning school and nursery. Wasn't that beautiful? What a gift. What a gift to have these children as part of our community. And they grow up so fast, don't they? In fact, one of the children whose family sent the photo of a school starter, they also sent me a photo of how I baptized their child a few years ago. How time flies. Isn't that amazing? What a privilege to be part of this family of faith together. Absolutely love it. Kath is here. She said on Super Saturday we all walked to Uxbridge, but the shop we planned to go to was closed. That's a downer, isn't it? What was the shop? Was it a toy shop? Sorry, why would it be a toy shop? Because you've got two wonderful children. That's why I think it was a toy shop. However, Kath and family managed to find what they needed in another shop, so it wasn't a wasted journey. Brilliant. And Clive, I'm so glad that these two colours match my complexion. I thought so too. Brenda is here. Says, morning, great quiz. Bit of a worry that my 60-year-old husband got Peppa Pig before the Queen. That is precious. Well, there you go. He must have been secretly watching CBBC or wherever Peppa Pig is shown. I must say, I'm a bit rusty on my Peppa Pig. Robert is here. In fact, Robert isn't here, but Mary is here. Mary only today. Welcome, Mary. So good to have you with us. And it was good to have Robert sing with us in this service. I'm just going to check the other greetings and then we go into the meat of some of the things in this service. So just to remind you, any questions and thoughts you've got about the service, already heard what you loved about the service, but maybe you have some questions. Then I want to talk a little bit about starting services again at St. Mary's. And if you've got any questions, thoughts on that, please do go to the link below the service video and do the 2-minute survey. It's just 4 questions, but it really will help us to plan well. So that's coming up. And then just to give you the heads up about one theme from the reading from John we will talk about, Dom's Bible reading group said the theme of unity really was one that interested them in the Bible Book Club. And it will be good to talk about that, because Jesus says, I pray that the disciples will be one just as you, Father, and I are one. So let's talk about church unity in the second part. Ian is here too. Ian is still in Sheffield. Great walk in the Peak District with your daughter Sarah. That sounds amazing. Was it as wet as here? Did it matter? I guess the joy of walking together with Sarah probably outshone the fact that the weather maybe wasn't perfect. Let's look at some of the other channels just to make sure I haven't missed anyone. Carol is here. Carol, welcome. So good to have you with us. Carol says, lovely, lovely service this morning with such a wonderful variety, and so lovely to have you with us. We've got some more news about Super Saturday and other things. Linda is saying, wonderful family service today, wonderful choir, so uplifting, as was Ian's sermon and the shared prayers. It lifted spirits and warmed the heart and connected us with our Father in heaven. Amen to that, Linda. Thank you for WhatsApping in, if that's a verb. I'm sure it is by now. Michelle and Nick are with us. Brilliant. Morning, Michelle and Nick. They didn't go out on Super Saturday, but they did get a takeaway Chinese for dinner. How nice. Does that count? I'm sure it counts. Anything that's sort of out of the ordinary lockdown procedure is great, isn't it? Just to venture out again to get a takeaway. And I really enjoyed this morning's service. Oh, and Nick says, Nick, you're blowing Michelle's cover here. Michelle's big birthday went well this week. Michelle, we didn't know or we forgot. Well, Michelle, we need to sing happy birthday to you. 30 again, incredible. So everyone, get ready, sing happy birthday to Michelle. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Michelle. Happy birthday to you. Many blessings, Michelle. And lovely to have you with us. And Nick says, yes, haircut today at 4 p.m. I'm not sure, Nick, whether you talk about yourself or Boris Johnson, but we'll leave it at that. Great. And then lastly, the emails. Yes, we have some greetings on email, which is beautiful. Jill is saying hello. Hello, Jill. And Faye is here. Enjoyable service and inspiring message from Ian. Thank you, Faye. And Faith is here. Great uplifting service today. Always good to remember that we're all in God's family. Pleased to hear that the online services are to continue. Well, Faith, it's good to be connected with you across this distance. And Steve is saying, good morning to all, Steve, Laura and Maureen. First of all, he says, I need to say we love your blue cushions. We've been admiring them this week and last. Thank you for noticing our beautiful cushions on our sofa. I really appreciate that. Also, I'm proud to say, says Steve, I scored 23 points in your Who I Am. Oh my word. Well, considering that really the most you can get in each question is 8, that is very impressive. I don't know whether anyone else scored 23, but I think that is the high score. Well done, Steve, especially for getting Peppa Pig. I am thoroughly impressed with you guys. You probably played as a team. That probably helped. Brilliant. So, great. That's the greetings done, and it's so nice to be together today. So let's talk about questions arising from this service, but also about starting services again at St. Mary's. Any thoughts, any questions? Maybe some have come in already while I was chatting away and checking the other messages. Kath is saying it was the Decathlon shop. Sorry for the product placement that they were trying to get to, because the children wanted a hula hoop. Oh, wow. Zoe has become an expert. Amazing, Zoe. When we next meet, which hopefully is soon, I want to see your hula hoop skills. I'm rubbish at it. Edda is very excited about Zoe's hula hoop. And Dom and Vicky say they also went for a lovely walk in the peaks with Mum and Dad. Well, why didn't you bump into each other? I know the Peak District is not a very small area, but that's amazing. Clive is saying, the excellence and seamlessness of the service belies the amount of hard work, effort and skill required to produce it. Well done, and thanks to all involved. Thank you, Clive. And thank you to everyone who's contributing week by week. I know I'm repeating myself, but keep your contributions coming. 2 people sent me this hilarious cartoon about Mrs. Jones. Isn't that great? So I thought, if 2 people send it to me, it probably needs to be featured in our service. So keep things coming. It really makes our service special and so interactive. Right, so while you think about questions, and don't forget the theme we're talking about in the last 10 minutes is unity. Jesus prays for his disciples to be one, just as he and the Father are one. Any thoughts, any questions on that, keep them coming, and I'll give you the perspective of Dom's Bible book club in a minute. And here's the first question by Chris about opening St. Mary's to services again. Chris is saying, curious to understand how we will manage the social distancing aspect of services at St. Mary's, especially if there is strong demand. Now that's a really good and important question, Chris. Let me just set the scene for you, if you don't mind, on this whole theme, because the first thing I would like to say is, if someone is asking you, when's the church reopening? I would love you to respond, oh, the church has never been shut. And in our own use of language, it would be really good if you don't say, oh, the church is reopening soon, because the church has never been shut. The church has continued to meet, to pray, to worship, to serve others, to read the Bible together. And that could actually lead to a really interesting conversation. Well, when's the church opening again? Oh, the church has never been shut. How do you mean? I thought all churches were shut. Maybe you want to rehearse your answer to that and then say, and by the way, would you like to join us for worship next Sunday? The link is very simple, tinyurl.com/YouTube-denim. It's really important that we get this language right. But of course, our church building is precious. And as we talked at a ministry team on Thursday, there are many aspects of meeting physically which we are missing. Being together as the body of Christ. We miss that. It's so good to have virtual coffee, but it's still virtual. I can't shake hands. I can't give a hug. It's not the same. It's not that sense of presence and worship together. So it's going to be good. However, when the church is reopening, there are 3 principles we are working through to make sure we do it well. Firstly, the first principle is doing it well. And that's about pacing. It's about preparation. It's also about the fact that some of us are quite weary, and if we now rush into it, we'll either burn ourselves out or we are not going to do it well, and that's not going to honor anyone, and certainly not God. So firstly, do it well. Secondly, do it safely. And we've got a working group who's digesting the national and the diocesan guidelines. The guidelines from our diocese only came out 3 days ago, so we are now Thursday evening, I think. So we're now catching up on it and saying, what does that mean for us? And then we'll write a risk assessment and we'll put teams in place. And also we're taking account of the fact that we've got team members who are in the vulnerable category. For example, I continue shielding until the end of July. And so can only meet with small groups outside in July. So we're not rushing it because we want to do it safely. And the third thing is we do it jointly. We have a PCC meeting on Tuesday where we'll discuss it, and we have the survey. And Chris, to your question, that's one reason why the survey is so important. I'm just plucking figures out of the thin air now. If 150 people should return the survey, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? And of those, 2/3 say they're definitely going to come to St. Mary's as soon as it opens up. We've got a problem, because we know we can't safely distance 100 people at St. Mary's. But then we can work with that. It's a good problem to have. But we really need your feedback. At the moment, from what we've heard about other people and other countries where churches are already open, the attendance has dropped a lot. And there's a number of reasons: anxieties about meeting with others, or for some people, they just think online worship works really well for them. So we're not expecting a massive rush. And based on the average numbers of worshippers before the lockdown, we think we can safely distance people. But we need your survey input. And then we put a safe plan in place. We'll control numbers. We'll make sure that there's no contamination. So that's all in play. But please do fill in the survey if you haven't done it yet. Will there be any music at the new 9:30 service? That's a good question, Janet. And the short answer is yes and no. Yes, there will be music, because this last week I've talked with Louise, our organist, and she's very happy to play before the service and a little bit after the service, and maybe just a hymn verse during the service. However, the answer is also no, because singing is not allowed. It's just one of those things where you have an increased danger of air droplets going into the air, the atmosphere around you. So singing is off the menu. So it's explained a bit more in the survey, but the 9:30 won't be a replacement for the 8 or for the 10:30. It can't be, because there are so many restrictions in place, and we will live with them, and we look forward to the time when those restrictions are lifted. So those are the questions about the service. I hope that's been helpful. I'm not sure there's anything else you would like to know, but I think it's important to say at the moment, it's really important that we continue to run on 2 tracks for the time being during this recovery phase. We will continue online, we will start again in the church, and then we'll work through all the other church events, how and when they can start. But also, as we said in the past weeks, a massive disruption is a chance to review and to say what works, what doesn't work. What have we learned during lockdown that we want to incorporate in the future life of our church? And any thoughts you have, please send me a little note, an email, a text message. Say, what I've learned, what I hope for is this. We've got a good list already, but we'd love to have your voice in that as well. Right, we're going to go to the theme of unity. And if you've got any thoughts on unity, now is your chance to text me. Jesus says, I pray that they, my disciples, may be one, just as you, Father, and I are one, so that the world will see that you've sent me. That's a big prayer. What do we feel about that prayer? How do we live unity in 2020? I'm going to give a perspective on that in a minute. But before I do that, I'm just going to very briefly check again our messages. I don't think I've missed anything, apart from the fact that Nick and Michelle have thanked us for singing Happy Birthday. I nearly forgot you, Jenny. I'm so glad I checked all my different channels again. Jenny is here, and she's texted in, and she's saying, hi everyone, love to hear the choir singing the hymn and Cameron playing. Very uplifting service in these uncertain times. Great to have you with us, Jenny. Thank you for texting in. Unity. While you think, while you type, I'm going to tell you what Dom's Bible Book Club wrote to me. We spoke about how we thought grace, humility, and openness were important in a church community to help drive unity. Having open conversations and dialogue to help overcome conflict, and ensuring that the church family is an inclusive place where everyone can feel safe and welcome in the love of Jesus. Opinions, approaches, and beliefs may diverge in this context. People are different. The church so often is perceived as divided in the national consciousness on issues of the day. How can we practically overcome anything like this as a church family and ensure that St. Mary's can always be seen as a local beacon for unity, kindness, and welcome in our community? I'm going to read that last question again, because it would be good for the last 5 minutes to talk about that a bit more. How can we practically overcome anything like this as a church family and ensure that St. Mary's can always be seen as a local beacon for unity, kindness, and welcome in our community? That's a good question, isn't it? So I'd love your thoughts on that, and then I'll give a short perspective on it. Janet, I think we'll postpone your question. We won't have time to do justice to it. Bryony's here. Brilliant. Well done, Nevitz, for joining us. Joan is saying, we may still be a long way from total Christian unity, but a lot of progress has been made during my lifetime. Now that's really encouraging, isn't it? Joan, I don't think you'll mind giving away that you're not 25 anymore. You've seen the church over many decades, but also you've seen different churches. You've not always been part of the same local church. And it's so encouraging to hear from you that you've seen progress in the unity between churches. And maybe that's a good point to start. Let's look at the bright spots as well, not just at the challenges. We know that Jesus' prayer has not been perfectly fulfilled. And because we are all fallen human beings, we are marred masterpieces. I don't think we'll have perfect unity in every aspect this side of heaven. However, it's God's mandate, it's Jesus' prayer, so we better take it seriously. One of my wonderful experiences of unity is meeting up with local ministers about once a month, not in the last few months, to pray together. We can pray together. The people of Jesus can pray together, although we have differences in many areas. And we've done that for many, many years. And it's so good to pray with Catholics, with Baptists, with Methodists, with all manner of Christian groups, and to express our unity in prayer and in mission. Some of you will remember the Rethink mission we did nearly a couple of years ago, where we talked about some of the big questions of the Christian faith, and that was organized by local churches, but together as the group of churches in South Bucks that come together to pray. We had a prayer training day just at the beginning of February at St. Mark's, Denham, which was organized by all those local churches, where we learned how we can pray for one another. And it's going to be great to have Anne's review of a book by the couple who led us that day about how we can pray for one another. So let's look at the gains made. But what I would say is the best Bible verse about unity, I mean, there's many good ones, Jesus praying for unity to start with. For me, one of the really good ones is John 1, where it says that the Word became flesh in the person of Jesus. We have seen his glory. And then it says that Jesus was full of grace and truth. And here we have one of those tensions again that we talked about last week. The tension between truth and grace, which Jesus perfectly held together. It's a paradox. It's not a contradiction. And I guess some of us, by personality type or experience, lean more towards the truth of the equation, and some of us more towards the grace of the equation. We need both. If we just try to have cheap grace and say, oh, it doesn't matter, let's all just get along, we don't do justice to the message of Jesus, which is a very challenging message. If we just lean towards the side of truth and say the most important thing is that we are right, and by the way, the person who says that usually says, and I have read the Bible in the only correct way, so I know I'm right and you're wrong. That's no good. We need grace and truth together, and we'll have to work that out together and help each other. And I think these things you mentioned, Tom, are beautiful, that we do it in openness, grace, and humility. And also that we are ready to gently challenge each other in love where we think we're falling short of grace or truth. Hold these things together. I think it's not sure who said it. Maybe it was St. Augustine who famously said, in essentials, unity. In non-essentials, liberty. In all things, charity. That's the principle I want to go along with. But, we live in difficult times where the society we live in has often in some ways left behind the consensus that existed and which was shaped by Christian ethics and moral values. So there are times when we have to say to the society around us, we disagree. We have a prophetic voice and we stand up for God's good plans with the world. Ed and I just picked up yesterday that a bill will be read in Parliament on Monday, which will make our abortion law the most liberal abortion law in all of Europe, with no more safeguards. Now, this is a big theme, and we could talk about this for the whole of this session. But what I would like to say is that unborn life is precious in God's eyes. I know the life of the mother is precious in his eyes only, and sometimes these are very difficult issues. But if all safeguards are removed, and if abortion becomes a lifestyle choice, then we need to stand up as the church and say, not in our name. We believe that God loves every human being, and even before birth. Maybe especially before birth, because Jesus came for the vulnerable, for the outcasts, for those who had no voice to speak for them. Chris is saying, it seems that sometimes Christians make too much of relatively insignificant differences in views on doctrine and practice, compared with the huge things that unify us. I think that's very well put, and sort of puts meat on the bone of the Augustine quote I just quoted. I have Baptist friends, and I agree with them in some areas of our baptism practice, and they with me. But I disagree with them in some areas of baptism practice. But we agree on so much more, and we love Jesus. I made a young Polish friend when I was a young adult who was a fervent follower of Jesus and a good Catholic. And we agreed on some areas of our doctrine, but we found so much common ground and we could walk together. And so in essentials, we need unity. Let's not give up the core of our Christian faith, which quite frankly is being embattled from all sides. But in the non-essentials, let's have liberty, but in all things charity, grace and truth perfectly matched together. So there's lots more in this chat. You've reached the end of our time. I was going to read you a great quote, but I'm going to read that to you next week. Don't miss next week, because it's a really good quote. It's so good to grapple with these things, isn't it? And by the way, charity is an old-fashioned word, which is still used in the King James Version. And it's translated love in the modern Bibles, but the Bible word behind it is a word that means sacrificial, selfless, self-giving love, which we of course see in Jesus, agape love, which leads us back to our theme of this service. We are called to be united with Christ and he to us. We are made in God's image. Yes, that image is marred, but Jesus is restoring it to our full, beautiful humanity. And it is done through the sacrificial, self-giving love of Jesus. And that love should be really the calling card of the church. And when that happens more and more, people will still disagree with us, but they can't disagree with self-giving love. And so let's do that. Let's do that today. Let's do that this week. Stay safe, stay connected, stay hopeful. Great to chat. See you next Sunday.